The reading for today's sermon is taken from Volume 1 of Yogananda's book called The Second Coming of Christ. The universe, being a product of divine mind, can be changed by divine mind at any time. God-realized souls, who are in tune with the divine will, can instantaneously produce any desired changes in matter, including the human body, by concentrated thought, which acts on and restructures the subtle energy matrix underlying each material form. A divinely strong mind, implanting a thought of health and perfection in another person, can dissolve a stubborn illness that is based in thought and cause a strong surge of restorative healing energy. Ultimately, all disease can be found to have psychological roots. Hence, disease thoughts can upset the entire government of the life force in the cells. If strong enough or chronic enough, such thoughts manifest as bodily disease. Conversely, a strong thought of health can correct any disorder in the cellular system. To effectively move divine thought, one must be conscious of the relation of thought, life force, and the physical body. One should make the effort to realize how thought condenses into energy, and energy into flesh and blood and tissue. Scientists in the Soviet Union have been researching the electromagnetic radiation, called bioplasma, given off by the human body, reports Marilyn Ferguson in The Brain Revolution. If the subject quietly directs his thought toward a healing part of the body, the bioplasma shows corresponding changes. In Healing Words, The Power of Prayer and the Practice of Medicine, published by Harper, San Francisco in 1993, Larry Dossey, an MD, noted author of many books on the relationship of spirituality and medicine, writes of the scientific research that has been done on healing through prayer. I found an enormous body of evidence, over 100 experiments, exhibiting the criteria of good science, many conducted under stringent laboratory conditions, over half of which showed that prayer brings about significant changes in a variety of living beings. Experiments with people showed that prayer positively affected high blood pressure, wounds, heart attacks, headaches, and anxiety, Dr. Dossey reports. Remarkably, the effects of prayer did not depend on whether the praying person was in the presence of the organism being prayed for, or whether he or she was far away. Healing could take place either on site or at a distance. Now, I want to direct our attention to the situation here in the world. Because what does the world see? The world goes, there is a virus that is so perfect because of the way it adapts and the way it attacks and the way it spreads, and that we are helpless, that we have to hide in our houses and cannot breathe around each other. Now, if Yogananda was here, I think he would say this is a creation of human volition. Well, some people go like, you're crazy, we got all the science to show that this is a virus. Well, he might say, well, where does a virus come from? How does it originate? Of course, there'll be a scientific explanation to it. But I believe the spiritual explanation is that we have a humanity that feels oppressed, that feels attacked, that the vast majority of people living on the planet feel a certain helplessness based on their government, based on the healthcare system, based on the food industry, based on their financial situation. They feel under constant pressure. Enough of that energy culminates, and we have a physical representation of a threat that becomes a global threat. And we see it as something that is not within our control. This isn't something we created. This is something that's being done to us. So lo and behold, fast forward a few months, and because inside of us, people feel this oppression and this attack, we have manifested something that shows that it's real. You see? It's kind of like, you see what's happening? We're under siege. What I believe Yogananda is saying is that the human volition is caught in a certain level of victimhood. And so it creates these kind of situations. And this is a pretty big one. You know, we've had, the world's economy is basically seriously stilted. Now, as somebody who owns businesses, I have seen in the US that they are doing things to try to accommodate. Even as a self-employed person, there are certain loans that are forgivable that allow you to keep paying people. And so it's not all bad. But at the root of it is a complete misunderstanding of the power of human volition. Imagine trying to tell people who are speaking about these doctors and these politicians, and say, what actually would resolve this way faster is if we made it a requirement that every soul who is conscious or able wakes up and for half an hour visualizes the world free of this virus. That we bombard the energy of the planet with the affirmation that this thing is helpless. And I would be very, very willing to bet a lot that if enough people did it, you don't have to have everybody do it, but if enough people did it, it would end the virus. Because the virus exists as a representation of an energetic attack upon humanity. If enough people said, no, we're not under attack. We have created an environment or a universe that is imbalanced. Instead, what do we have? Every day we have huge amounts of thought energy going like, this is going to get worse. This is going to be catastrophic. Millions of people are going to die. Entire businesses are going to collapse. And people go, they suck it up like a sponge. And they begin to become terrified about how their lives are going to look. And guess what's happening? The very thing that is consumed in thought is manifesting. Now, luckily, they manifest to a certain degree a potential end to it. I thank God for that, that there's some element of thought energy that's going, we expect that it'll peak at this point and then it'll peter out. But what I want us to know is that you have the responsibility to develop this volition, this radiation of truth. You know, think about the term radiation. Radiation is generally associated with some sort of cancerous, calamity. Like you shouldn't be near something that has radiation. Radiation is a neutral word. When something radiates, it gives off an energetic field, as each one of us does. Each one of us radiates an energetic field. Now, we here are striving to give off an energetic or a radiation of love and truth and acceptance. But we can't help ourselves. At times we radiate irritation, frustration, fear, selfishness. Okay, we accept that the process is gradual. If you try to demand that you radiate all love at all times, you're going to be, well, first of all, it's too prideful, because you can't get there. You can't expect yourself to be somewhere that you have not worked on. But we don't want to think about radiation as something that we have to cower from. I want you to think of and really focus on what you're radiating into this global system at this time. I've never for 1 second thought I was going to get this thing. I've never thought for 1 second any of you were going to get this thing. And the reason that I've been irritated about it is because I do believe a lot of it is preventable. I mean, I do believe all of it ultimately could have been preventable, but we're talking about cathartic transformation of all of society. So it's going to take a while. But I find myself getting irritated when I feel this tremendous movement away from love. Now, I probably need to work on that. I don't claim to be perfect in any manner. But I do feel strongly that this thing, which is to me is misrepresented, there's no room for it in my body. I don't know why. And you can think the same thing. Now, you're going to have to move about the world, and people are wearing masks, and people are wiping down all your shopping carts, and we're not going to disdain people for that. You can't walk up to a scientist and go, this is all a thought form that's created, because even though I do believe that's true, yeah, there's a point where biologically, of course, this thing exists. But are we at a state of society or a state of evolution where we can take responsibility and go, this is a creation of thought energy. This is a representation of a global society that feels attacked. And so we create a manifestation of it. Just the way people can't concentrate, so we create a drug to counter that. As opposed to, we have to teach people how to concentrate. We have to limit the amount of time people can look at a telephone device. Because play this out 10, 20, 30 years. You have people that are justified in believing all sorts of negativity. You know, I think about this irritable bowel syndrome, right? I mean, just sort of think about it. Why would somebody's bowel be irritated? Why is it that they cannot assimilate the nutrients and eliminate waste? Well, something coming in is not digestible. Just think about it. You have to sort of get into this meditative mindset. Things that are coming into me, thoughts, energies, lack of love, financial pressure, they're coming in and I can't digest it because love doesn't seem to work. Fear seems to work. Selfishness seems to work. You know, you look around the world and go, who's doing the best? Who's our president? A billionaire that's very self-centered and narcissistic. That's the leader of the country, and he calls himself the leader of the free world. So part of you may go like, I can't digest that because that's not true. That's not how it's supposed to be. So then the food gets stuck in my system as a physical representation of the fact that I'm irritated by the lack of truth. Now we call it irritable bowel syndrome. Oh, I have that, so I can't really go out on the weekends, and I got to take these medications, and you know, now it's IBS, so it's very official. You know, we just call it IBS to go. I want you to understand that perfect health is possible. Now, if you've been living a certain way for 50 or 60 years, those thought forms have to be undone gradually. You cannot go, I'm going to affirm perfect health today, and all the years that I've lived are going to wash away. I have not found that to be the case. So I don't want you to walk out of here and either feel bad about your health or how you think, or also go, I'm going to change it in this one split second. But what about if you begin to invest in this idea now? That you were to spend 10 minutes of your meditation affirming and exercising, with an E, your will towards this type of health. That your body has an immune system that is amazing. So in conclusion, keep your mind clear on what is true. That the human body is amazing. And that thought energy directed does affect the bioplasm of life. I mean, we're talking about people who have done scientific, what he's calling good science, which means, though I don't know that much about it, but you know, the parameters are properly measured and calculated and tracked. And they're showing that prayer has a significant effect on bioplasm. In other words, if you put out an intention, it will change physical matter.